Hi guys, welcome back to Crow's Whisper Tarot. I am here today to talk about emotions that you get that are very complex and start developing after a certain event or experience has triggered it. And we'll have a look at those in detail and see what we can get from it, and also if we can improve those recurrent circumstances. Sit back, relax, and we'll skip over to the piles. Okay guys, here are the piles. We have pile 1, pile 2, pile 3, and pile 4. Take your time in selecting the piles you like. Hi pile 1, let's look at your reading. For you guys, you are definitely someone who is very strong, very reliable, very intelligent. You have a lot of influence with people around you and on teaching them how to respect boundaries and keep things together. I think the biggest thing for you guys is that you're very good at teaching people and being a sort of pillar of hope and support for a lot of people. But I think what you have been experiencing is there's some difficulty with your family, and it seems to be almost burning you out a lot of the time with the hearth with Vesta here. And it's something that has been really difficult for you to sort of keep up with. It seems like a recurring theme for you that when you're with family or a specific family member, you tend to get very drawn out and you feel like things tend to become very heavy very quickly, and that leads you to burning out. And heavy in the sense of you feeling like you have to either support them or have to really put your energy into who they are. And with the Four of Wands card here, usually this card would represent, success and celebration, but that doesn't quite seem the case in this circumstance. It feels more along the lines of they are pressuring you into following what they want and their desires, and you feel like you don't have enough power to really push yourself forward and take the time to really assess whether that scenario or that circumstance is right for you. So if they tell you to, go help them out with a certain project, you don't feel like you have the ability to really say, hold on, let's think about it, let's see how it goes. It feels like you're just dragged on with whatever dance they're doing, which is quite difficult for you. The other thing is it feels like they're almost suffocating who you are as a person, and that's really a shame because you are someone who is very intelligent and have a lot of strong outcomes for yourself, and yet what they're doing is pushing back on that and making it seem like you don't have the knowledge or power that you do. And as a result of that, you end up feeling like you can't pursue what you want or follow a certain path that you want to do, and you have to always follow what they are. So they're almost dragging you along with whatever they want, and you're allowing it to some extent. And the complex emotions that you guys are definitely feeling is whether to think on your feet and push through with what you want, or just sit there, hibernate, and let whatever they say go. And I think that debate in your mind is causing a lot of complex emotions to pop up, namely a lot of anger and resentment towards them for pushing that sort of narrative, and also a lot of sadness regarding yourself and a lot of, negative self-thoughts about how you've been dealing with the situation and how it's been recurring, because you're very much aware of the circumstances that have been going on with this. I can definitely tell that. It's really a shame because you guys have every ability to really push through and make a change with the Page of Wands here. So you definitely have the ability to really push through, to really see past their facade, and you do see it, but you still haven't quite got to terms with how to push through. And the easiest way I can say this is you just have to, because you know the truth that they're really not right for you, and them trapping you is not right for you. So you know you have to grow and blossom with who you are. So the only outcome you can really have is making yourself powerful, which you have, but making yourself mentally powerful, that no matter what, you know, they want or do, you have every right to reject and every right to decline every offer or, you know, demand that comes from them. And knowing that you are in fact very powerful, very protective of the people you have. Just think about in terms of your values of what you want to experience for yourself, and if going through this another cycle is really worth it to you. And I think it's definitely time to really think of yourself first rather than this individual first, because the circumstance that we're talking about is family related, and it's really hard for us to not help family, and I think that's sort of ingrained in us. But in this case, you have to make the right call for yourself in terms of where you're spending your energy and who's sort of affecting your energy in that sense. So always make sure that you keep that in mind, and always keep an open mind of what is needed for you personally in terms of growing. And it's definitely a tricky situation that you have been trying to, you know, put a certain way, but I think so far the strategies you've been using are quite passive. So it's almost like you're trying to hint at them as to your thoughts, but in reality what you really need to do is be blunt and be direct and put up the boundaries that you want to put up in this circumstance. So once again, reminding you guys, you are strong and powerful and have every right to make the demands that you need, and always keep that in mind that you are the Hierophant, which is a teacher and a strong figure of knowledge. So you know your mind better than anything, and so always make sure that you put yourself first. So that is your reading, pile 1. I will see you in the next one. Bye. Hi pile 2, welcome to your reading. So let's have a look at what the cards have for you. So what the experience you've been struggling with is a lot to do with your 12th house. Your 12th house is all about your mental state subconsciously, but also looking at some religious aspects as well for some of you. And it's about trying to determine who you are deep inside, which is a very tricky circumstance to go about. So understandably you'll have a lot of complex emotions surrounding it. So you guys are someone who has always been secretive about what you want, and that's here, the Moon card here. So because you have been very secretive about who you are, what you want, you always like to keep your inner thoughts and inner emotions to yourself. It becomes very complex for you to really push forward and showcase who you are. And I think the biggest debate that you've been having with yourself is almost trying to determine what path you want to take in terms of your journey in life. And I think that has always been something that has been really complex for you. I do get the sense that a lot of you are dealing with more of a religious aspect, or perhaps more along the lines of very deep emotional of where you want to be in this life, or what, you know, big questions like what is the purpose of living, etc. So it's definitely a very tricky circumstance to go about, and always keep in mind that these complex thoughts are never going to be easy. And we see that here with, again, the 3 of Wands, where ideally you would like the path to sort of light up continuously when you're journeying forward, but the reality is there will always be difficult circumstances no matter how you sort of look at it. It is always going to be tricky to really see the answers that you're looking for. And that makes it complex in the sense that you really want a direct answer, and you're never going to get one. Unfortunately, it is something that is the worst thing to hear, is that there's no direct way to achieve what you want. And the biggest trick with this is trying to figure out exactly the path you want. And to do that, you would really need to look at yourself and your shadow self And by that I mean your subconscious self that doesn't quite come to the forefront but lives in the back of our minds continuously. And I think for you guys, you've definitely been struggling with trying to find the path ahead, and I think that is something that will simply take time, but you guys have been really focusing on that recently. What this brings out in you emotion-wise is a lot of heartache and a lot of feeling unstable and disconnected. And I think that's where it becomes really tricky, because if you don't have a solid foundation of who you are and what you want to be, it becomes even more tricky to open yourself up to others. I think that's what we've been experiencing here. The porcupine spirit is all about really trying to protect yourself, which you have been doing, but the negative effect of that is that no one feels like they can come near you to give you advice, and also to allow you space, a safe space to sort of talk about what you've been experiencing. I think that's very clear with the moon card here, is you don't like, so it's almost like you disconnect from others when it comes to expressing your deeper side. And I think that's where you are getting stuck, is that you're not giving yourself a chance to really shine as an individual. We'd sing your own song here with the canary spirit. It's all about trying to make yourself stronger, and you guys are well aware of that, and that aspect of not being able to really push yourself forward and express that deeper side seems to be holding you back quite a bit. And it's important to consider what is really right for you. And yes, you can sit curled up all the time and be comfortable, but how much of that is actually going to work long term? That's where the biggest trick is trying to figure out exactly what part of yourself is necessary for you to grow. And always consider that life is complex in that sense, and you can never get a full answer, but the reality is that you really need to focus on opening up to others and being able to grow as an individual. So with the King of Rings here, it is all about trying to find where you are stable, where you are safe, where you are grounded. That is the biggest thing that you would need to do in yourself to grow in this circumstance. It is not going to be at all an easy path. In fact, with the Five of Swords here, it's all going to be either you gain something, but you will lose something. There is no happy ending necessarily. There is no 100% both parties are going to be happy with the situation. It is going to be difficult. It is not going to be easy at all. But the reality is it bringing you happiness in the current state of things? What will bring you the most happiness later on? And the fact is that unless you really try and think for yourself what is right for you and focus on yourself and what will make you stronger and what will make you more clear with your path ahead, that is all about trying to communicate to others what you actually want. Because unless you voice it and be very clear with what you're voicing and trying to understand in detail exactly what makes you who you are, you're not going to get the results that you want. It's sort of like at school when learning something, it's very different to learn something and very different to absorb it enough to tell others about it or teach others about it. And I think that's sort of the circumstance that you're going through, is that you have a lot of deep thoughts. You're aware of it, but not enough to explain it to others and think about it to others and describe it to others. And without that, you're not going to be able to really push forward with what you have and understand in detail what you have. So it's definitely important for you to get out of your shell and to peel apart the layers of who you are and really look in detail for yourself more than for others to understand. Looking for yourself to find the answer of, the big questions in life, which seems to be more along the lines of what you guys are stressing about to begin with. But the main thing is really focusing on trying to push forward and escape what is going on in this circumstance. So that is the reading for you guys. Let me know in the comments down below if you enjoyed the reading, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Hi Pile 3, welcome to your reading. Let's get into your reading. You guys have been really struggling with finding connection with other people, and that has become a really difficult part of what's been going on in your life. I think you've always found it difficult to find your community and really build upon that, and that has been a real struggle for you. So with the Child of Wands here, we see that the main thing you guys have been struggling with the most is looking at trying to express yourself enough where you can find a community. And it's something that has really been difficult for you. I feel like not so much when you were younger, but I feel like in your adulthood you definitely have struggled a lot more with finding who you are and really growing as an individual. The main thing that you have struggled with is that you haven't been able to really find a connection with other people and find that spark with other people. And that's essentially led you to feeling like no matter what group you sort of mix with, and no matter what, individuals you've been with, you don't feel like you can connect to them on an emotional level and really see a growth with that. And it's tricky because you're someone who is really happy talking to other people and meeting new people and experiencing new things, but the difficulty you've been having is really trying to see the possibilities, and you find it difficult to really bring those possibilities of meeting new people to life. And you're someone who despises being alone and not having someone to rely on, or not having a community. And that has really brought a lot of difficulty in terms of trying to make connections with others, because it seems like you've really been trying to make superficial connections to a lot of people, and that's not ideal at all. With the Dove Spirit here, it's all about trying to grow as an individual and trying to push forward with what you have. It's tricky because it seems like you guys have really been struggling to build upon relationships. So you can make really good impressions with meeting people, you can make really good impressions with the way you communicate, the way you talk, but what you've really struggled with is staying in one spot for a long time. You're constantly on the move, you're constantly moving locations or moving environments, and you're not able to stay in one spot long enough that you can really build upon connections that you've been having. And that's always been a big struggle for you in terms of trying to find somewhere to settle down. And it's interesting because 3 of your cards are bird spirits. So a lot of what you guys have been trying to deal with is about finding a community where you can be yourself, express your emotions, have good connections, and be able to be yourself. I think a lot of the time you are moving groups, taking on the character of that group every time, and not able to maintain who you genuinely are. And that's the loss of self that you feel like you've been having, and the loss of, not so much the loss of connection, but the loss of deeper connection, because you can't express your true self, which makes it a lot more powerful in terms of the emotions that you've been having. It seems like you guys have like shocks of these emotions, almost not so much monthly, but I feel like you guys been having it at least a few times a year. And with the Knight of Cups here, the answer is there is no true path to getting good friends, but the main thing is trying to put your most energy into the connections that you do have. I think a lot of the time you tend to see the possibilities a lot of the time and see that every person is worth it, every person, I should be putting the effort into, and then you end up in this circumstance where you're not able to really take on those energies as much, and you sort of shield yourself a little bit, because you're thinking, well, I'm not going to be here for very long anyway, so I don't know if I really should push this and really make an effort. And I think that's where you have been struggling, is that you haven't quite taken on that role of pushing forward and giving all of yourself to whatever person you're talking to. And we also have the Lovers card reversed. So what this means is that you guys have not been in a circumstance where you can really focus on another person. You guys need to try and build on connections and not see them as obstacles to sort of navigate around. And that is going to take a lot of time on your part to really assess what is right for you. And I think a lot of the time you desire to have connections with other people, but what has always been blocking you is that, is it going to last? And there's no point thinking of that if you don't experience it and you don't put the effort in to get there. And I think the biggest thing for you guys is to see every connection as destiny, which is an odd thing to say, but it is the only way that you can really build upon the connections that you do have. I'm not saying that you have to find a place to settle down and change your routine. I think that is essentially part of it, but the other part of it is also looking at every connection as important, and every connection has meaning. And if you spend every time looking at connections as being superficial, and that the more friends you have the better, I think you're not going to get enough clarity with what connections are real and what connections are on the surface. And that sort of thought process is something that you do need to improve on, because it changes a lot of the fundamentals of who you are as a person. So pile 3, that was your reading. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Hi pile 4, welcome to your reading. So let's look at the cards. Let's look at the cards. For you guys, you have been going through an extreme change, and things have been very chaotic for you guys recently. So chaotic, in fact, that nothing is going to plan. For you guys, you feel like everything with Uranus here with change is being thrown out of the loop. And even when I was pulling out your cards, it was very, very messy, I will say. So the other thing that you guys have been going through is a major shift in your life. I feel like you guys have just got a new role in terms of work, and the requirements for it are extreme. You guys are very much almost at boss status, and have been getting a lot of demand for yourself. And also, because you are in fact a workaholic, and with the 8 of Pentacles here, very much work orientated with your life, you definitely have a lot of demands for work for yourself, and have spent a lot of time sort of building that up. But recently you've been feeling like no matter where you place your energy, you have not been on the receiving end of what you want to. You always feel like there's obstacles in the way, and not being able to get to where you want to be. With the 4 of Cups here, it's all about not feeling like you are not seeing what you are receiving. And that seems to be more so financially related, but also in terms of the type of work environment that you want. And so along with that, you've also been going through a lot of stress in terms of setting up where your finances are. I feel like you have not only got a promotion at work, you've also changed houses, there's things going on with the family, so your money's going left, right and center. So you haven't really found a grounding in terms of financial stability at this point. There seems to be a lot of things that have been going haywire for you, and a lot of it is more so financial and money related. So also with the Buffalo spirit here, you have been feeling like a lot of what you are receiving in terms of abundance has been blocking a lot of your energy in terms of not being able to rest, not being able to take a moment for yourself, not being able to really be in the moment. I feel like you guys are running around like headless chickens a lot of the time because there's too many things to do in too little time. So you're not really slow and steady with going through the changes and not really being able to plan for things at the moment. And the other thing that you guys are experiencing is because of the amount of chaos that's going on, you feel like you're not in control like you usually are. You're definitely someone who likes to set the pace for what goes on in your life, and it seems like things are just not working out for you because this is reversed as well. So you're not able to take the moment to really appreciate the growth that you've just gone through. There's too many things that are going on currently that are restricting your energy and restricting your path forward. And a lot of that is to do with the lack of clarity. I feel like some of you have not been sleeping at all in the last few days, which is not helping at all with your emotions because you feel like everything is moving at a pace where you can't keep up. And that causes a lot of stress and a lot of difficulty in terms of maintaining what you have. And I think a lot of the time we sort of focus a lot more on trying to gain momentum, trying to push forward, but that sometimes is not a trait that we want to have. So the other thing that you can do to get out of the situation, and the biggest thing to get out of the situation, is to trust that things will work out, which is not something you guys are very comfortable with at all. You guys definitely, as I said, like to set the pace, like to be in control of what goes on in your life. But the issue is the more you try and control, the less control you have when things don't go to plan. So you can plan as much as you want, but when those plans fail, I think you guys just hit a major panic attack and don't quite know how to pull yourself out of that mindset and pull yourself out of those stress emotions that build up. And so that's definitely something you guys need to work on, is trying to be able to adjust to circumstances that don't work in your favor. So the main thing you guys have been struggling with is really focusing on the outcome more than how you can push forward. So you guys definitely need to lean more into your creativity because you guys are almost too logical to keep up with what is going on. And sometimes in order to multitask and in order to get things done, you need to have a level of creativity and a level of inspiration of where you want to go. So you can think of the current circumstance and really focus on the current circumstance and just sort of delve headfirst into it, or you can look at the broader picture and pinpoint where you can tie this into your current chaotic work schedule. And that is going to be really tough for you guys, but no matter what, you guys have already reached success. It's not going to disappear in a second. It's going to remain there, and change is always going to happen in your life. And I feel like the shock that you've recently gone through has not helped with the already, anxiety built state that you're in. So definitely try and think of better ways to cope with the stress you have. If that means relying on other people, if that means not spending as much time through work, setting up boundaries for work, making sure that you have time to rest and not be awake at 3 in the morning, that would be the most ideal for you in terms of coping with the extreme emotions that you have been going through recently. So that was your reading, pile 4. Let me know in the comments how that went, and I will see you in the next one.